It started on a quiet Thursday morning in downtown Brentwood, the kind of morning when sunlight poured over wet asphalt and the whole city pretended it was clean. The parking lot of Hawthorne Market was half empty. Just a few cars, a delivery truck, and a woman who looked like she had no reason to rush. That woman was Dr. Maya Cross. To the world, she was an ordinary shopper in a dark blazer and jeans, phone in one hand, reusable bag in the other. But under that calm, polished surface was a storm that had been waiting for years. Inside the market, two off-duty patrol officers were joking near the self-checkout line. They weren't in uniform, but everyone knew them, the kind of men who carried their authority like a badge, even off the clock. They laughed loud, their words rough enough to echo down the aisle. When Maya stepped up to pay for her groceries, one of them, Officer Trent McCall, nudged his friend and smirked. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, leaning on the counter. "You might want to check that bag again. Can't have folks walking out unpaid." The cashier froze. So did the line behind her. Maya turned slowly, her expression unreadable. "Excuse me?" Trent's grin widened. "Just doing my civic duty. You know how it is, some people think the rules don't apply to them." The second officer, Harlan, chuckled. "She looks familiar, doesn't she?" Trent nodded. "Yeah, maybe from the courthouse. Probably one of those lawyers who think they run the place." Maya's eyes didn't flinch. She simply placed her phone on the counter, pressed record, and said quietly, "Do go on." A hush fell over the store. A mother pulled her child closer. Someone near the door whispered, "Is she filming this?" Trent's smirk faltered. "What are you doing?" "Documenting," Maya replied softly, "since your civic duty seems to include public harassment." Harlan scoffed. "Lady, relax. We're joking. And perhaps learn the difference between a joke and intimidation." The cashier scanner beeped nervously as Maya finished paying. She gathered her groceries, turned to the small crowd, and spoke clearly, every syllable calm as steel. "Never let anyone in power use humor as a weapon. That's how disrespect hides." Just a quiet storm, leaving the room colder than before. Post-period, final, central, enclosed. Maya set her bag in the back seat of her black SUV, but before she could get in, she heard the officers' voices again, following her outside. Trent called out, "Hey, you think you can film us and just walk away?" She stopped. "Yes." "Delete it." "No." Harlan stepped forward, posture shifting from cocky to threatening. "You don't want to make this harder than it has to be." Maya looked at them, then glanced toward the corner security camera above the door. "I think that lens disagrees with you." Trent cursed under his breath. "You don't know who you're messing with." Maya tilted her head slightly. "Neither do you." Then, calm as ever, she got into her car and drove off, rain starting to fall on the windshield like soft percussion. PA Tribunal, PA. That night, Trent couldn't stop thinking about her. Not because he felt guilt, but because of the way she'd looked at him. Like he was already a problem she'd solved. He poured himself a drink, sat back on his couch, and started searching her name online. "Maya Cross," he muttered, typing it into his phone. The results hit like a punch to the gut. Maya Cross, former federal field director, Department of Internal Affairs. The woman they mocked in a grocery store used to investigate police corruption. Trent's glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the tile. Meanwhile, in a modest apartment on the other side of town, Maya sat at her desk, reviewing footage on her laptop. She didn't just post the clip. She archived it, encrypted it, time-stamped it. Old habits. Her cat, Shadow, jumped onto the table, brushing against her arm. She smiled faintly. You'd think after years of audits and hearings, I'd stop collecting evidence. She replayed the moment where Trent leaned in, frame by frame. His arrogance, his tone, the way Harlan laughed. To most people, it was a rude exchange. To her, it was a pattern. She clicked open a folder labeled Project Ember. Inside were dozens of similar videos, all small encounters between officers and civilians around the state. Different towns, same arrogance, same abuse of power. She leaned back whispering, "You're not the first, but you might be the last." Period. By morning, the grocery store footage had already leaked online, not by her, but by someone who'd filmed the encounter from the next aisle. The video was everywhere. Period. Woman stands up to off-duty cops. Grocery store confrontation goes viral. Comment sections flooded with opinions. Half called her brave, half called her dramatic. But the only opinion that mattered was the one she hadn't shared yet. The one buried in a report she'd been writing for months. Because Dr. Maya Cross wasn't just defending herself. She was building a case. And those two officers had just handed her the missing piece. Across town, Chief Walters slammed his office door, his coffee untouched. He'd just received a call from the mayor. 2 of his men had gone viral, and not in a good way. Trent and Harlan sat in silence, both looking like boys caught stealing candy. Walters rubbed his forehead. "You idiots realize who she is?" Trent muttered, "We didn't? She's Cross. The Cross. You picked a fight with a woman who used to audit entire precincts for misconduct." Harlan paled. "She can't still be active." Walters glared. "Active or not, she's dangerous, especially with a camera." That evening, Maya's phone buzzed with an anonymous message. Rain, streaking the glass. "Let them watch," she whispered. "I've been watched before." Her laptop chimed. Another file uploaded. Another story unfolding. Because for Maya Cross, this wasn't about a grocery store. It was about power, truth, and the one thing her enemies always underestimated. The calm before she struck. Morning broke over Brentwood City with the cold light of consequence. The grocery store incident had hit every local channel. Clips of Maya Cross calmly standing up to 2 off-duty cops replayed between weather reports and traffic updates. For most people, it was just another viral video. But inside the Brentwood Police Department, it was a storm brewing behind closed doors. Chief Walters sat at his desk, jaw tight. Trent and Harlan stood across from him, silent, eyes glued to the floor. The chief finally spoke. "You embarrassed this department. You embarrassed me. And you embarrassed every man who wears this badge." Harlan muttered, "It wasn't that serious. She filmed us, that's all." "That's all?" Walter's voice rose. "That woman was a federal investigator. She's got connections in D.C., journalists in her pocket, and a reputation for burning down corrupt departments like ours." The chief slammed a folder on the desk. Inside were news clippings, old reports, each headline bearing the same name, Dr. Maya Cross, whistleblower investigator. "You two picked the wrong woman," Walters growled. "And now the city wants answers." Trent finally spoke. "So what do we do?" Walters leaned back. "We control the story. If she wants a fight, we'll make sure she's the one who looks dirty." Across town, Maya sat at her kitchen table, a cup of coffee untouched beside her laptop. Her phone buzzed every few seconds, notifications, interview requests, threats. But her focus stayed locked on a single document. Internal Audit Report. Case number 47 Ember. Every incident in that file told a story. Small-town officers accused of racial profiling, unlawful detainment, excessive force. Some victims got justice. Most got silence. She scrolled to the last section, the one she hadn't finished. Brentwood Division. Her cat brushed against her leg. She murmured, "Almost there, Shadow. Almost done." A knock sounded at the door. Maya looked through the peephole. No one there. Only an envelope taped to the wood. She opened it carefully. Inside, a single photograph. It showed her walking to her car the previous night. Underneath, written in sharp black marker, "Stop digging." Maya didn't flinch. She just smiled faintly. So they're watching now. She grabbed her phone and began typing. That evening, Trent and Harlan sat in a dark corner booth at a bar near the precinct. A man in a gray suit approached. Clean cut, cold eyes, no badge. "Name's Keller," he said quietly. "Internal liaison, the chief sent me." Trent shifted uneasily. "Your IA?" Keller smiled thinly. "Not exactly. Let's just say my division handles optics." He slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were printed screenshots, Maya's LinkedIn profile, a few private emails, even a photo of her entering her apartment building. "You two will feed me everything she does, every contact, every move. In return, we clean up your mess." Harlan frowned. "That sounds illegal." Keller's smile didn't move. "So does what she's about to do to your careers." Back home, Maya connected her laptop to a private satellite line. Her fingers moved fast across the keys. Encrypted messages, data transfers, hidden drives. She wasn't just reacting, she was preparing. On her screen appeared a message from Agent Vega, one of her former contacts from her federal days. "Vega, you kicked up a hornet's nest again, didn't you?" "Maya, it's not a hornet's nest if it's rotten wood pretending to be a hive." "Vega, they're already digging into your history, trying to paint you as unstable." "Maya, I'll give them proof they're right. I'm unstable enough to finish what I started." She smirked and hit send. The next morning, a local news segment aired. The anchor's voice was smooth, but the tone was sharp. New details emerge about the woman behind the viral grocery store video. Sources claim Dr. Maya Cross left her federal position after multiple complaints about questionable conduct. The headline flashed, "Who is the real Maya Cross?" Maya watched from her couch, sipping her coffee. "They're fast," she murmured. "Desperate, too." Her phone buzzed. Lena, an old journalist friend. "Maya, they're spinning hard. You want me to push back?" "Not yet," Maya replied. "Let them talk. Every lie they tell is a confession in disguise." Meanwhile, in the chief's office, Keller leaned against the wall, scrolling through his phone. Walters asked, "How bad's the heat?" Keller replied, "Public split. Half think she's a hero. Half think she's a fraud. That's perfect. Division is our best defense." Trent spoke up, nervous. "What if she drops evidence? Like real stuff?" Keller looked up slowly. "Then we bury it before it surfaces." He walked toward the window, staring out at the city below. "Remember, people don't care about truth. They care about headlines. We own the headlines. It's not that. I own the presence of Maya." One night, she received a message on her encrypted line. An anonymous source. No name, no profile picture. Just a sentence. "I used to work for them. They buried files. Cases you never saw." She typed quickly, "Who are you?" No reply. Just a new file attachment. 2 more. She opened it. Hundreds of scanned documents. Internal memos, misconduct reports, payment logs, all stamped Confidential, Brentwood PD. Her heart pounded. "Oh my God," she whispered. Shadow jumped onto the desk as the glow from the screen reflected in her eyes. For the first time since the grocery store, Maya felt something unfamiliar. A hint of fear. Because this wasn't just about two bad cops anymore. It was about a whole department. And the people who'd been protecting it from the shadows. The next morning, she walked into the Brentwood Herald, local newspaper in hand, and placed a flash drive on the editor's desk. The editor, an older man with coffee stains on his tie, looked at her suspiciously. "And this is," Maya smiled softly, "insurance." "Insurance for what?" She looked him straight in the eye. "For the moment they realize I'm not just a headline, I'm the story they can't rewrite." That night, Keller's phone rang. "Unknown number," he answered. A woman's voice, calm and sharp as glass. "You're digging into me, Keller. I'd advise against that." He froze. "Who is this?" "The woman who just mailed your department's corruption files to every major news outlet on the East Coast." Click. Keller stared at his phone, face pale. Chief Walters burst into the room moments later, holding a printed headline. "Brentwood PD under federal scrutiny. Leaked files suggest long-term cover-ups." The chief looked up, eyes wild. She just declared war. Keller exhaled slowly. "Then we better be ready to fight one." Rain hit the city like static that night, soft, endless, cleansing nothing. But in Brentwood, no amount of rain could wash away what was coming. Inside police headquarters, the air felt electric. Chief Walters paced the floor like a man walking a tightrope over a pit of his own making. Keller stood near the window, phone in hand, voice cold and steady. "She's outmaneuvered every angle we tried," Keller said. "She's got half the media in her pocket and federal agents whispering on her behalf." Walters slammed his hand on the desk. "Then make her the villain. She's not untouchable." Keller smiled slightly. The kind of smile that only shows when a man knows something dangerous. No one's untouchable. Especially not someone with a past. Across town, Maya Cross sat alone in her apartment, eyes fixed on the flicker of her laptop screen. Every news outlet, every blog, every social thread, all spinning her story like wildfire. She wasn't a person anymore. She was a headline. Ex-federal agent exposes Brentwood PD. Hero or hacker, the woman behind the leaks. She closed the browser. A noise didn't matter anymore. The truth was in motion, and truth didn't stop for anyone. But as she leaned back, her phone vibrated. A new message. "Unknown. You're in danger. They're building a case against you." She frowned, typing quickly. "Maya, who is this?" The reply came instantly. "Unknown. Someone who knows how they operate. Check your mailbox tonight." The next morning, the world began to tilt. It started with a single headline, one so carefully written it almost sounded believable. Dr. Maya Cross linked to federal data breach. By noon, 3 more outlets had picked it up. By 3 p.m., her photo was flashing on national television with the words, "Under investigation." Lino called immediately. "Maya, what is this? They're saying you stole confidential case files." Maya stayed silent for a long moment. Then, she said quietly, "They just pulled the oldest play in the book. If you can't silence the truth, frame the truth teller." Meanwhile, at the precinct, Keller poured himself coffee and smiled at the chaos. Trent and Harlan stood nearby, watching the screens. "You actually faked federal paperwork?" Harlan asked nervously. Keller's tone was ice. "Not fake, just rearranged. A real case number, an old server access code, and her name where it counts." Trent frowned. She'll fight it. Keller nodded slowly. Of course she will. That's the point. The more she fights, the guiltier she looks. Walters leaned forward, voice sharp. Once the public turns on her, the investigation dies in the noise. No one listens to martyrs for long. At dusk, Maya walked out to her mailbox. The rain had returned, heavier this time, falling in sheets. Inside the box was a small envelope. No address, no name. She opened it under the dim porch light. Inside, a flash drive and a note written in block letters. Trust no one inside. Back inside, she plugged it into her laptop. Pause. A single folder appeared. Evidence, internal ops, Keller. The files were audio recordings. She pressed play. Keller's voice. Plant the data trail. Make it look like she accessed restricted federal servers. Once the warrant's issued, her credibility is gone. Pause. Maya froze. Her heartbeat slowed. Q. They're framing me, she whispered. But they forgot. I record everything too. She opened another file, a time-stamped log of Keller's internal messages to Walters. Every instruction, every manipulation, archived and dated. Her calm returned like armor. If they want a war, she murmured, they'll get one in 4K resolution. Later that night, Lena arrived at her apartment, soaked and shivering. Maya handed her a coffee and said simply, "You're my backup now." Lena frowned. "Maya, they've got people calling you a traitor. You can't win this with logic." Maya smiled faintly. "I'm not fighting with logic. I'm fighting with proof." She pulled up the audio file and hit play. Keller's voice filled the room. Lena's eyes widened. "Oh my God, this is enough to ruin them." Maya shook her head. "Not yet. If I go public now, they'll say it's fake. I need the source, someone inside to verify it." Lena hesitated. "You have someone in mind, don't you?" Maya nodded slowly. "A friend who owes me a favor in Washington." The next morning, Maya sat in her car outside FBI regional headquarters. The guard at the gate squinted at her ID. "Dr. Cross? Haven't seen you in years." She smiled politely. "That's because I've been busy keeping people honest." He buzzed her in. Inside, she met Director Vega, the same agent who'd once worked cases with her back in DC. He looked older now, tired, cynical. "You sure you want to pull me into this?" he asked. "You're radioactive right now." "I'm not asking for favors," Maya replied. "Just a trace. The audio file came from an internal line. I need proof it's theirs." Vega sighed, leaning back. "You're going to burn every bridge you ever built, Maya." She smiled faintly. "Then I'll walk across the ashes." Meanwhile, Keller sat in his office, scrolling through his tablet when an alert popped up. Unauthorized access detected. He frowned. "What the hell?" Then his phone rang. It was Walters. "Keller, we've got a problem. Someone from DC just requested internal communication logs. Your logs." Keller's voice dropped to a whisper. "That's impossible. They were deleted." "Apparently not." Hours later, Vega called Maya back. "You were right. The files are real, and the trail leads straight to Brentwood Command." Maya exhaled. "Good. Then let's see how they like being investigated." Vega hesitated. "They'll come for you now, Maya. You've embarrassed them twice." She smiled coldly. "Then I'll embarrass them a third time, on camera." That night, she sat at her desk with her phone recording. Her voice was calm, deliberate, unstoppable. "They called me a liar. They called me a thief. But the truth doesn't need permission to speak. Tomorrow, I'll release every file, every voice, every name, every order. If I disappear, this story doesn't stop. It just finds a louder echo." She saved the file, uploaded it to a secure cloud, and whispered to herself, "You framed the wrong woman." Outside, lightning cracked across the skyline. illuminating her face through the rain-streaked window. In that moment, Dr. Maya Cross stopped being the hunted and became the storm. By dawn, the clouds over Brentwood hung heavy and gray, like the city itself was holding its breath. The streets were quiet, but inside Brentwood Police Headquarters, chaos had already begun. Every phone in the building buzzed, every inbox filled, every conversation turned into panic. Because at 6:03 a.m., the first wave of truth hit the internet. A video, a calm voice, a storm of evidence. "This is Dr. Maya Cross," she said on screen. "For weeks, you've heard lies about me. Now, I want you to hear theirs." The video rolled into the leaked recordings. Keller's voice, Chief Walter's orders, falsified documents, internal cover-ups, everything, unedited, unfiltered. By sunrise, the world knew. Chief Walters stormed into the office, tie loose, face red. Keller was already there, phone pressed to his ear. "Pull it down," Walters barked. "Every channel, every site, take it offline." "You think I haven't tried?" Keller snapped. "It's mirrored across 6 networks and archived by federal media. She didn't post it. Someone else did." "Who?" "Probably her federal friend." Walters slammed his fist on the desk. "That woman just buried us." Keller leaned forward, eyes dark. "Then we dig her up, before she buries us deeper." Across town, Maya sat in a diner booth, near the edge of town, her laptop open and earbuds in. The waitress refilled her coffee without asking. She'd seen the news, too. Maya didn't look up. She was watching her own video, spread like wildfire. Hashtags, news anchors, live streams. But she wasn't smiling. She knew what came next. Lena walked in, breathless, sliding into the seat across from her. "You did it. You actually did it." Maya sipped her coffee. "No, I just opened the door. Now we'll see who walks through it." Lena frowned. "What do you mean?" "The FBI won't just investigate Brentwood PD. They'll investigate every case connected to them. Every file Keller touched. Every arrest Walters signed off on." Lena blinked. "That's hundreds. Hundreds of victims," Maya said softly. "And hundreds of chances for justice." Meanwhile, inside the federal building downtown, Agent Vega watched the same video from his office. He leaned back in his chair, impressed. One of his analysts stepped in. "Sir, do we open a formal investigation?" Vega nodded. "Open it, but do it quietly. Brentwood won't go down without a fight." By noon, the city was buzzing. Reporters surrounded the courthouse. Protesters gathered outside the police department. Signs read, "Justice for Brentwood. Truth has a name. We stand with Cross." Trent and Harlan, the 2 officers from the grocery store, sat in the locker room, faces pale. "You think she'll come after us next?" Harlan muttered. Trent shook his head. "She doesn't need to. She already did." Back at headquarters, Keller stood in front of the window, blinds half drawn, watching the protesters gather. His voice was flat. "We need a distraction." Walters looked up from his desk. "You mean?" "Something big enough to make people forget about her video. Something that turns her from hero to suspect again." Walters frowned. "She's too careful." Keller smirked. "Everyone has a weakness." He turned toward Trent, who stood by the door. "I hear you used to patrol near the docks?" Trent blinked. "Yeah, why?" "Because there's about to be an anonymous call about stolen federal equipment found in a certain storage unit near there. And guess whose name is on the lease?" Walter's eyes widened. "You planted evidence," Keller interrupted calmly. "Enough to reopen her case. Once we get the warrant, The media won't care what she exposed. They'll care that she's under arrest. That evening, Maya received a message on her encrypted line. Unknown, they're moving fast, a warrant coming. She stared at the screen, expression calm, heart steady. She'd expected this. But what she didn't expect was the second message that followed. Unknown, and they've got help, from inside. Her blood went cold. She typed back quickly. Maya, who are you? No reply. She stood, closed her laptop, and whispered to herself. Then it's time to disappear before they knock. At exactly 8:17 p.m., 2 unmarked cars rolled into her street. Headlights off, engines humming low. Trent stepped out, rain dripping from his cap. Keller's voice crackled through his earpiece. No mistakes. Get in, get the drives, and get out. If she resists, neutralize. Trent nodded grimly. Copy. They approached the door. But when he kicked it open, the apartment was empty. Only a single laptop sat on the table, screen glowing faintly. A video was already playing. Maya's voice filled the room. If you're watching this, you're too late. Trent froze. On screen, Maya's calm face stared straight into the camera. I knew you'd come. Keller, Walters, whoever's left of you, you can't hide what you built. Every file you touched is already archived. Every document mirrored. Every truth backed up. The screen flickered. You didn't frame me. You framed yourselves. The laptop powered down. An hour later, Keller stormed into headquarters, drenched, furious. How did she know? He shouted. Walters rubbed his temples. Maybe she's still got someone on the inside. Keller's phone buzzed. A new message. He opened it. From unknown. Message. You think she's the only one watching? Attached. A photo of Keller and Walters taken through the blinds of his office. Keller's face turned white. She's playing us, he muttered. She's not just exposing us. She's predicting us. Walters stared at him. Then what do we do? Keller looked up, eyes burning. We stop reacting. We go silent. Let her think she's won. Then hit her where she's not looking. Across town, Maya sat in a dimly lit motel room, watching the city lights flicker through the blinds. Her phone buzzed again. Vega. They raided your place. You okay? I'm fine. Just changed the battlefield. Vega, you can't keep this up alone, Maya. They'll come harder next time. She smiled faintly. Maya, I'm not alone. I've got the truth. And that's louder than bullets. She shut her laptop, took a slow sip of coffee, and whispered to herself. The trap's already sprung. They just don't realize they're the ones caught in it. Lightning flashed again, reflecting in her eyes. Calm, defiant, unbroken. The storm had passed, but Brentwood didn't feel clean. It felt raw, like a wound the city was trying to pretend wasn't bleeding. For 2 days, the headlines kept changing. Whistleblower vanishes. Leaked audio shakes police department. Where is Maya Cross? The world waited for her next move. But Maya wasn't waiting. She was building her final one. Inside a small motel room outside the city, the walls glowed with the blue light of her laptop screens. Footage, documents, maps, every thread of the corruption web she'd uncovered. Lena paced behind her, arms folded. You've already burned them once, Maya. If you go public again, they'll come for you harder. Maya's tone was calm, almost gentle. That's what they're counting on, fear. But fear only works when it's quiet. I'm done being quiet. She paused the video she was editing. A compilation of everything she gathered since the grocery store. Every recording, every admission, every false report. Her voiceover played in the background. They tried to rewrite my story, but truth doesn't need permission to exist. Lena sighed. You're turning this into a war. Maya's eyes didn't leave the screen. Excellent. I'm just making sure the world watches. Across town, inside Brentwood Police Headquarters, the mood was venom. Chief Walters sat behind his desk, pale, sweating, chain-smoking cigarettes he'd sworn off a decade ago. Keller stood beside the blinds, watching a live news feed on the muted TV. Protesters filled the streets outside the courthouse, signs raised high, chanting Maya's name. Justice for Brentwood had gone global. Walters muttered, "She's turned us into villains." Keller's jaw tightened. "We were sloppy. That video, she outmaneuvered us." "So fix it," Walters snapped. "You said silence would kill the story." Keller turned from the window. His voice was sharp, deliberate. "Then we'll give her noise. Real noise. If she wants attention, we'll drown her in it." That evening, Lena was driving Maya to a nearby studio, a quiet place owned by an independent journalist willing to stream her next video live. The air between them was tense but steady. "Once this goes out," Lena said softly, "there's no going back." Maya looked out the window at the passing city lights. "I don't want to go back," she smiled faintly. "I just want to make sure no one else has to go through this again." Meanwhile, Keller was on the phone with a man Maya had never met, Senator Pike, a powerful figure with deep ties to Brentwood's law enforcement funding. Keller's voice was low and venomous. "She's preparing a live broadcast. If it airs, the city's done." The senator's tone was cold. "Then make sure it doesn't air." I mean handle it. Before she handles you." The line went dead. Keller stared at his reflection in the window. His hands were steady, but his eyes, they looked like someone who'd already decided to cross a line he could never uncross. At 8 p.m., the lights flickered on in the tiny studio. Maya sat behind a simple desk. No glamour, no filter. Just her laptop camera and a microphone. Lena adjusted the frame, nerves buzzing in her fingertips. "Ready?" she asked. Maya nodded. "Ready." Hit record live. The red light glowed. The feed went global. "Good evening," Maya began. "My name is Dr. Maya Cross. For the past month, you've seen pieces of a story. Tonight, I'm giving you the whole truth." Behind her, video clips played, Keller's voice, Walter's orders, emails between politicians and officers, proof of years of cover-ups. "This isn't just about a grocery store or a few bad men," she continued. "It's about a system that punishes honesty and rewards silence. And silence ends tonight." Thousands of viewers flooded the chat. Maya Cross Live started trending instantly. Lena watched the viewer count skyrocket. 10,000, 25, 50,000, she whispered. Maya kept going, her voice steady, eyes unblinking. To every officer who looked away, to every official who signed a lie, "I see you, and now the world does too." But 2 blocks away, Keller's black SUV rolled to a stop outside the studio. He checked his watch. "She's live." 2 men in tactical jackets stepped out behind him, no badges visible. "You know the plan," Keller said. "Get the drives. Make it look like a robbery." Rain began to fall again, light and cold. The men moved fast. One slipped around the side door. Another went for the breaker box. Inside, Lena saw the lights flicker. "Maya, something's wrong." Maya kept her eyes on the camera. "Keep rolling." "No. Seriously." Before she could finish, the power cut. The screen went black, but only for a moment. The backup generator hummed to life, and the stream returned. This time, with security cam footage playing on split screen. Outside the studio, the 2 masked men could be seen approaching. Maya didn't flinch. She looked straight into the camera. "This is what truth threatens." Fear dressed in shadows. The chat exploded. Viewers flooded the comments. "They're trying to stop her. This is live. This is happening now." Keller, still outside, froze as his phone buzzed with notifications. He looked down and saw his own face, caught on one of the exterior cameras, now being streamed worldwide. His expression cracked. No, 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 no. The two men ran back toward the SUV. Maya's voice echoed from the speakers outside. Every time they've tried to silence me, they've only made me louder. The next morning, the footage was everywhere. News networks replayed the break-in side by side with Maya's speech. The FBI officially launched a corruption task force. And Keller's name was on every warrant. Chief Walters resigned before noon. By evening, the department was swarming with federal agents. Laptops seized, files locked. A city that once laughed off accountability now stood exposed under floodlights. At sunset, Maya stood on a hill overlooking Brentwood. The skyline bathed in orange firelight from the setting sun. Lena joined her quietly. "You did it," she said softly. Maya's voice was calm. "Not yet. Justice doesn't end with arrests. It ends with change." She turned toward the city. They thought the truth was a threat. But the truth is just inevitable. Lena smiled. "And what about you? What happens now?" Maya looked out across the fading light, her silhouette strong and still. "Now?" she whispered. "Now I stop running." In a dark office downtown, Keller sat in handcuffs, eyes hollow, waiting for Vega to arrive. The agent placed a recorder on the table and said quietly, "You could have stopped this." Keller looked up. Vega shook his head. "No. She started it. You tried to stop it. That's the difference between guilt and courage." He turned off the recorder and left. Back on the hill, Maya closed her laptop and whispered, "Let the world keep watching." The wind carried her words into the twilight, soft, unshaken, unstoppable. Morning crept slowly over Brentwood. For the first time in months, the air felt still. No sirens, no chants, no breaking headlines. But peace was never built for people like Dr. Maya Cross. It was only the silence before the next move. At the Federal Detention Center, Keller sat alone in a gray interrogation room, his cuffs clicking softly against the table. Across from him, Agent Vega reviewed a folder thick with evidence. "You ran out of places to hide," Vega said calmly. "You framed her. You buried files. You lied to protect a broken system. So tell me, Keller, why now? Why talk?" Keller leaned forward, voice steady but hollow. "Because I still have leverage." Vega frowned. "You're in chains. What leverage?" Keller smiled faintly. "The truth never travels alone. Maya thinks she's won, but she hasn't seen the rest of the picture." Vega's expression hardened. "Meaning?" Keller's eyes gleamed. "Meaning there are recordings she never found. The kind that could ruin her too." Across town, Maya walked the quiet streets near Hawthorne Market, the same place where everything began. The same cracked sidewalk, the same corner cameras. It looked ordinary now, but she could still feel the echo of that first confrontation. Trent's voice, the laughter, the phone in her hand recording everything. Lena joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You should smile more," she teased softly. "You took down an entire department." Maya accepted the coffee but didn't laugh. "Taking them down isn't the same as changing them." Lena raised an eyebrow. "You think Keller's still pulling strings from a jail cell?" Maya's lips curved faintly. "People like him don't stop fighting. They just change weapons." Later that day, Vega called her in. The moment she entered his office, she knew something was off. The blinds were half drawn, the air thick with tension. "You found something," she said. Vega nodded slowly. "Keller claims he left evidence, something that ties you to a classified data breach from your federal days." Maya's jaw tightened. He's lying. Maybe, Vega said. But if there's even a shred of proof, the media will eat it alive. She met his gaze, calm and unwavering. Then I'll face it. The truth doesn't scare me. Vega sighed. It should. That night, Maya returned to her motel room to find the door slightly ajar. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, but she pushed it open anyway. Inside, nothing looked disturbed, except her laptop, sitting open on the desk. The screen flickered. A video was already playing. Keller's voice. If you're watching this, you've won. For now. But you should know, every whistleblower has a shadow. You can't expose corruption without exposing yourself. Then the footage shifted. Old federal surveillance clips. Maya's face at a briefing room table years ago. Her ID badge visible. Department of Internal Affairs, Special Operations. These files, Keller continued, were taken from your old cases. You deleted them, but I didn't. She paused the video. Her heart didn't race, it slowed. He'd found the one thing she thought she'd buried forever. Years ago, when Maya was still with Internal Affairs, she'd uncovered a federal operation that authorized illegal surveillance in several cities, including Brentwood. She'd blown the whistle internally and quit. But not before copying evidence that could destroy powerful people far beyond any police department. Those files were never meant to surface again. Now Keller had them. Lena burst into the room minutes later, pale. Maya, tell me that video's fake. Maya turned to her. It's not. But it's incomplete. Incomplete how? Keller doesn't know what I did after I found those files. She unplugged the laptop, eyes burning with resolve. He thinks the past can scare me. He's wrong. It's my insurance. At dawn, Vega visited Keller again. We found your little video stunt, he said coldly. You tried to blackmail the woman who just exposed half your department. Keller only smiled. And what will she do when she realizes she's no saint either? Vega stood, slamming his folder shut. Unlike you, she owns her mistakes. You tried to bury yours. He turned to leave, but Keller's voice stopped him. Agent Vega, tell her I said hello. She'll know what that means. Hours later, Maya stood on the steps of the courthouse, cameras flashing around her. She'd called a press conference, against Vega's advice. Lena whispered, Are you sure about this? They'll twist whatever you say. Maya took a deep breath. Then I'll say it myself before they twist it. She faced the crowd, her voice steady through the microphones. You've heard stories about me, some true, some false. I was part of an investigation years ago that uncovered illegal surveillance. I spoke up, and I walked away. The system called me disloyal. But loyalty to injustice isn't patriotism, it's cowardice. The crowd murmured. Reporters scribbled. She continued, If the truth about me helps reveal the truth about them, so be it. I won't hide from the same light I've turned on others. The applause started small, then grew louder. People cheering, chanting her name. For the first time in weeks, Maya's eyes softened. Inside his cell, Keller watched the press conference on a small TV bolted to the wall. When Maya finished speaking, he turned off the screen and smiled faintly. You still think you're the hero, he whispered. But heroes don't survive this long. He stood, pacing the small space, a plan forming in his mind. He still had allies on the outside, people who owed him favors. One of them was already moving. That night, Lena was driving Maya back from the courthouse when a dark SUV began following them. No headlights, no plates. The city streets blurred under the rain as tension filled the air. Lena's voice trembled. "Maya, someone's behind us." Maya glanced in the mirror, calm, focused. "Don't panic, just keep driving." The SUV gained speed. Suddenly, it pulled up alongside them. A window rolled down. A man leaned out, camera in hand. Flash, the SUV veered off, disappearing into the side streets. Lena gasped. What the hell was that? Maya's voice was barely a whisper. A warning. Keller's not done. Later that night, she uploaded a private message to Vega. "He's making moves from inside. I need his network traced. Fast." Then she sat back, watching the city lights through her window, reflecting off the glass like sparks of fire. "You tried to use my past against me," she whispered into the dark. "But my past made me stronger than you'll ever be." The camera on her desk blinked red as it recorded her final line. "The reckoning isn't coming, Keller. It's already here." The city woke up under a gray sky, quiet, uncertain, holding its breath. It had been 72 hours since Maya's press conference, and Brentwood's streets were lined with questions. Who really held the truth? Was Keller still manipulating the story from behind bars? And could one woman's truth really dismantle an empire built on silence? Maya Cross didn't have answers. She only had proof and resolve. That morning, Agent Vega sat in his office, phone pressed to his ear. His tone was urgent, eyes locked on a wall of case files. "We've tracked Keller's communications," Vega said. "Encrypted messages sent from a tablet inside the prison. He's directing someone on the outside, someone named Sparrow." On the other end, Maya's voice was calm. "Then Sparrow is the last thread. You sure you want to do this yourself?" Vega asked. "Let us handle it." "If I've learned anything, Agent Vega," she said, "it's that systems protect themselves. Justice doesn't happen inside their walls. It happens when someone refuses to back down." That evening, Maya parked her SUV near the old Pier 9 warehouses, where Vega's team had traced Keller's hidden network. The area was desolate, puddles reflecting the pale moonlight, the wind carrying the distant hum of the city. She stepped out, coat drawn tight, eyes scanning the shadows. Every footstep echoed like memory. Her earpiece buzzed. "Vega, we've got eyes from the north exit. You sure you're alone?" "Maya, always." Inside the warehouse, a single lamp glowed over a table cluttered with cables and monitors. And standing there, a man in a gray hoodie. The digital ghost himself, Sparrow. Maya approached slowly. "You've been busy," she said. He didn't look up. "So have you. You were Keller's tech, the one who covered his tracks." Sparrow smirked faintly. "You can call it that. I just built the cage he hid in." "And now?" He looked up, eyes sharp and tired. "Now, I want out." Maya studied him. "Then help me end this." He hesitated, then slid a flash drive across the table. Everything Keller left behind. Messages, accounts, payments, names. It's all here. Maya picked it up, carefully. "Why give it to me?" Sparrow sighed. "Because Keller never understood something you did. Truth isn't dangerous. Fear is." At that exact moment, miles away, Keller watched the live prison newsfeed, his hands trembling slightly. He'd bribed a guard for access to a smuggled tablet. He knew she'd find Sparrow. He'd counted on it. He opened a private channel and typed 3 words. "Activate backup file." Inside the warehouse, the monitors flickered. Lines of code scrolled fast across the screens. Sparrow froze. Wait, this isn't me. Maya's voice sharpened. What's happening? He's remote triggering a data purge. Every file, gone. Maya slammed the flash drive into her laptop. Then, we save what we can. The screens flashed again. Keller's voice filled the air. Distorted, distant, cruel. You think you can erase me, Maya? I built this system. You're standing in my ghost. Then, the monitors exploded into static. Sparrow stumbled back, coughing as sparks fell. Maya yanked the drive free, shielding her face. It's corrupted, Sparrow gasped. He wiped everything. Maya's eyes narrowed. No, he didn't. She held up the flash drive. The LED blinked faintly, still alive. 2 hours later, Vega met Maya in an abandoned train yard outside the city, neutral ground. Rain poured from the dark sky, slicking the concrete, turning every word into breathless vapor. You got it? Vega asked. Maya nodded, handing him the drive. Keller tried to burn it, but he underestimated the one thing he never had: backup. Vega plugged the drive into a secured scanner in his car. The screen lit up. Names, bank transfers, hidden accounts, political payoffs. Keller wasn't just corrupt. He was part of a network that reached far beyond Brentwood. Vega exhaled. My God, this isn't just your case. This is national. Maya's voice was quiet. Then make it bigger than me. Then make it bigger than me. At dawn, Keller's cell door opened. 2 federal marshals stepped inside. And Keller L. Tate, one said, "You're being transferred to Washington under federal indictment." Keller laughed, shaking his head. She really thinks this ends with me in cuffs? As they dragged him out, he whispered under his breath, "End. You can't cage a ghost." By afternoon, the story broke worldwide. Federal task force expands after Brentwood scandal. Dr. Maya Cross sparks nationwide reform bill. Whistleblower becomes face of accountability movement. For the first time, Maya's name wasn't being debated. It was being honored. She didn't smile at the cameras. She didn't take interviews. She just watched from the back row as the truth took on a life of its own. Later, that evening, Vega found her outside the courthouse, standing in the glow of streetlights. He offered a faint smile. The bill's already being drafted. They're calling it the Cross Act. Whistleblower protection, mandatory transparency, oversight reform. You did it. Maya looked at the courthouse steps. Rain dripping from her coat. No, we did it. All of us who refused to stay quiet. Vega nodded. What will you do now? She glanced up at the city skyline, tired, peaceful, free. Maybe start living again. Across town, in a prison convoy speeding through a storm, Keller stared out the window as lightning flashed over the horizon. He closed his eyes and smiled. You think this is over, Maya? Truth always creates enemies. The camera lingered on his face, half shadow, half smirk. A storm rolled through, thunder drowning out his voice. Months later, sunlight spilled across Brentwood's courthouse steps. Children played where protesters once shouted. The market where everything began now had a small plaque on the wall, in honor of Dr. Maya Cross, because truth should never fear the light. NPB says, Maya walked past it quietly. No cameras, no speeches, just a faint smile and peace in her eyes. Lena caught up to her, grinning. You disappeared again, Maya said, softly. Truth wins slow, but it always wins. No, it always wins. NPB says, she was the woman they underestimated. The fighter they tried to silence. In the end, truth didn't just expose the lies, it rewrote the story. Remember, power fears truth, but truth never fears power. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories where justice finds its voice.